Hello and welcome to the United Kingdom of Christ podcast. I'm your host, Griego. I'm coming to you from the beautiful Denver metro area. I want to thank you for taking the time to join me for our Bible study session. I hope you find these episodes as amazing as I do, having the ability to make them for you. If you want to connect with me, you can follow me via X, the application formerly known as Twitter. My handle is UK_Christ. I can also be reached via email at uk.christ@outlook.com. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or comments or just want to say hi. I'd really look forward to making new connections. So in this Bible study session, we're going to be covering Genesis 4. Just try to keep them real short and sweet. Excuse me. And without further ado, let's do it. Now the man had relations with his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain. And she said, I have gotten a man-child with the help of the Lord. Again, she gave birth to his brother Abel. And Abel was keeper of flocks, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So it came about in the course of time that Cain brought an offering to the Lord of the fruit of the ground. Abel on his part also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and for his offering. But for Cain and for his offering he had no regard. So Cain became very angry, and his countenance fell. Then the Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will not your countenance be lifted up? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is for you, but you must master it. Cain told Abel his brother, and it came about when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? He said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the ground which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you cultivate the ground, it will no longer yield its strength to you. You will be a vagrant and a wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is too great to bear. Behold, you have driven me this day from the face of the ground, and from your face I will be hidden. And I will be a vagrant and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. So the Lord said to him, Therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance will be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord appointed a sign for Cain, so that no one finding him would slay him. Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain had relations with his wife, and she conceived, and gave birth to Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city Enoch, after the name of his son. Now to Enoch was born Arad, and Arad the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael became the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah became the father of Lamech. Lamech took to himself 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah. Adah gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jabal. He was the father of all those who play the lyre and pipe. As for Zillah, she gave birth to Tubal-Cain, the forger of all implements of bronze and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, listen to my voice, you wives of Lamech. Give heed to my speech, for I have killed a man for wounding me, and a boy for striking me. If Cain is avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 77-fold. Adam had relations with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son, and named him Seth. For she said, God has appointed me another offspring in place of Abel, for Cain killed him. To Seth, to him there was a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then men began to call upon the name of the Lord. It's so interesting I don't know, countenance. I don't know how many of you are familiar. That's one reason I love studying the Bible, is just learning new words and learning new things. But countenance is like our body language. It can even be like our facial expression. So, when Cain noticed that the Lord really didn't give him regard, as it's called here, didn't really give him regard for his offering, but Abel received it, Cain's facial expression, or his overall body language, changed. And it's kind of interesting. It's a pride thing also as well. If you look at it, he was probably so proud of all of the actual gifts that he had brought for the Lord. And the Lord was more impressed with his brother's offering. So if you think about it though, maybe Cain and Abel were there preparing their offerings for the Lord. And maybe Abel had more humility as he was actually preparing his offering for the Lord of the flock and the fat portions. And when Cain actually went, he probably thought that he was going to receive as much regard, or maybe even more. Abel could have just been more humble, and just like his heart was in a different place than where Cain's is. So Cain, so envious, he decided to go ahead and kill his brother. And God realizes it, or he knew. I truly believe this may have been a test, right? Like I said, Cain probably had more pride in his offering, where Abel was just more grateful to actually be able to offer anything to the Lord. And Cain took exception to it, I guess we could say. He was very disappointed in the Lord's response to his offering. So when the Lord, like I said, realized, he knew, and he always asks, like, well, hey, where is your brother? Where's Abel at? And Cain says, I don't know, my brother's keeper. And the Lord just calls him out on it. He's like, hey, what have you done? I can hear your brother's blood crying from the ground. And after that, he decided to curse Cain. And Cain ends up getting pretty much booted further away. It's really related to the fall in general, right? The fall of mankind, Adam and Eve, getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And it's just like it's a progression of humans falling away from the Lord. And the sins, it's just like an escalation of sins. And, it's so sad where we look at where we're at now, and we're just falling further and further and further along. And even though that we mess up, just like Cain, right? And Cain's so concerned about his own survival after this occurs, and probably upset that he was caught, and really you're going to hide something from God? Come on. But he was so upset that he tells God, well, now I'm going to be killed. And if you think about it, the Lord saying like, hey, I'm going to make sure that nobody kills you. It's still kind of loving, and not even kind of, it truly is loving. He's like, you know what? I still take responsibility for you, even though you've done wrong. So I am going to protect you. And I'm going to make sure that you live out this life. And of course, there was another actual issue that the Lord arose for Cain. Besides being a vagrant and a wanderer on earth. He also has the issue that, let's see where it is here. Yeah, that when he cultivates the ground, he's no longer going to yield its strength, right? So in reality, what it was is, you know how the Bible always talks about, like, oh, you know, he sowed 100 times, 10 times, harvested what he sowed. And who knows what Cain's actual harvest was like? You know, it could have been like, 10,000 fold or something like that. And in reality, the Lord tells him, like, hey man, you're not going to get as much as I was giving you prior to. So once again, it's more toiling, more work. Just, I don't know if doubling down would be the correct term, but just trying to discipline and disciplining his children. And it doesn't say here, that Cain felt bad for killing his brother. It's like he was remorseless, he didn't have any remorse for actually killing Abel. And who knows, maybe if he actually did feel bad, but his immediate concern, first of all, he didn't want to get caught, right? So he's trying to hide it, or at least his knowledge of it, of the murder that he just committed. And then he doesn't say, I'm so sorry, Lord, for killing my brother. My envy led me to it. He stayed, another great word from the Bible is obstinate, which the definition is stubborn. And he just stays stubborn. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't seek forgiveness. He just completely internalizes his punishment and starts complaining to the Lord, like, hey, I'm going to get killed. Hey, I'm going to be a vagrant. I'm going to be a wanderer. This is messed up. And who knows if he had actually owned it, and it's just amazing because Adam and Eve did the same thing. They tried to hide from the Lord, right? And it doesn't really say that, oh, well, I knew you'd be mad. Like, they didn't know what the Lord would know. They just knew that they were naked. So they did try to hide their behavior as well from the Lord. And in reality, when he asks, it's kind of like, well, what would have happened if we actually just owned our situations, the sins that we've committed? Would we see more leniency, more forgiveness? When we take responsibility for our behavior, I truly believe that the Lord will show us more mercy. Well, I think that's going to do it for this chapter and for this Bible study session. Like I said, try to keep them short and sweet. I want to remind you of the contact information. I'm on X, the application formerly known as Twitter. The handle is UK_Christ. I can also be reached via email at uk.christ@outlook.com. Please feel free to reach out to me, whatever you need. If it's within my ability, I will definitely try to help you as much as I can. And yeah, thank you again. God bless. Amen.